2 miles west of Sprague River, Oregon, there is a fire that has not given crews a single point of containment since the day it was found. The Wrights Spring Fire, Klamath County, detected August 5th. As of the August 11th operational update, it covered 51,687 acres, about 81 square miles or 209 square kilometers, with 656 people assigned and containment still listed at 0. Sprague River Road is closed from milepost 9 to Sprague River Drive. Bliss Road is closed from Peter Steiner Road down to Sprague River. There are Level 3 Go Now zones on both sides of that road, Level 2 and Level 1 zones stacked behind them. Red Cross shelters open at Chiloquin Elementary and at Living Springs Fellowship in Bonanza, and the county fairgrounds taking livestock. A firefighter has already died on this incident. Jason Ensign, 47, of Klamath Falls, was killed on August 6th. I want to be straight with you about one thing in the record. Later local reporting refers to a dozer operator killed on this fire, and the published accounts do not make clear whether that is Ensign or a second man. I am not going to guess at a number of dead. When the incident team confirms it, I will tell you. But the reason I started you in Klamath County tonight is not the acreage. It is the thing standing over that fire. If you have driven US 97 north of Klamath Falls in the last week and looked east in the late afternoon, you have seen a smoke column that somewhere around 20,000 feet stops looking like smoke and starts looking like a thunderhead. That is not a trick of the light. That is a thunderstorm. The fire built it. I am Walter. There are no sponsors on this channel, no gear links, no brand deals, nobody paying for a single word of what you are about to hear. What I get wrong is mine alone. Here is what is happening in the air above a fire that big. A large wildfire is a heat engine. It is pushing an enormous volume of superheated air straight up, and that rising air carries two things with it: smoke particles and water. The water comes out of the fuel itself. Green brush, timber, grass, all of it holds moisture, and burning it boils that moisture off and sends it up the column. Now you have wet air and billions of soot particles climbing together. Water vapor needs something to cling to in order to become a cloud droplet. Smoke gives it more surfaces to cling to than a clean sky ever could. So a cloud forms right on top of the smoke. That is a pyrocumulus. Pyro meaning fire. You have almost certainly seen one and called it a smoke plume. Then comes the part that changes everything. When water vapor condenses into a droplet, it releases heat. Not much from any one droplet, but across a column miles wide, it is a second engine switching on above the first. That heat makes the air inside the column more buoyant, which makes it rise faster, which lifts more moisture, which condenses and releases more heat again. The fire lit the match. The atmosphere is now feeding itself. When that runaway loop carries the column high enough that the top freezes into ice and starts throwing lightning, it is no longer a pyrocumulus. It is a pyrocumulonimbus. Fire scientists shorten it to pyro-CB. A plain English name for it is a fire thunderstorm, and that is the one I will use. Understand what that means for the ground. A pyro-CB makes lightning, and that lightning starts new fires well outside the perimeter anybody is defending. It develops an anvil top like any severe storm, and when the column stalls or the storm collapses on itself, all that suspended air comes down as an outflow, a blast of wind hitting the ground and spreading outward in every direction at once. Crews who spent all day working one flank suddenly have fire running at them from behind, and it lofts burning material. Not embers drifting off a roofline, whole branches, cones, bark, thrown thousands of feet up, carried downwind, and dropped miles ahead of anything on a map. Nationally, this is not a quiet season. The National Interagency Fire Center has the country at preparedness level 5, the top of the scale. As of the August 11th situation report, there were 104 uncontained large fires, 12 new large fires reported the day before, and close to 30,000 personnel committed. Year to date, 46,305 wildfires and more than 6.4 million acres, or roughly 2.6 million hectares. The Northwest is carrying the heaviest load. Australian and New Zealand firefighters are working here on assignment. Military air tankers are staged at Klamath Falls and at Redding. And this year, for the first time, somebody is flying into these clouds on purpose. The mission is called INSPYRE, the Injected Smoke and Pyrocumulonimbus Experiment. It is led by the Naval Research Laboratory with NASA, NOAA, the National Science Foundation, Carr, and the University of Nevada, Reno. More than 150 researchers. The field campaign runs from late July into September across Western North America. NASA is flying an ER-2, a converted Cold War U-2 spy plane out of Montana, scanning the tops of these storms with infrared instruments from an altitude twice that of your airliner. Below it, an NSF and NCAR Gulfstream 5 flies into the plume itself and collects the smoke by hand, so to speak, with air scrubbers running so the scientists on board can breathe. Ground teams chase them with mobile radar and LiDAR. This past weekend, that ER-2 crossed southern British Columbia more than a dozen times in a single flight. NASA's own description of what they are chasing is worth repeating. One of the least understood forms of severe weather on Earth. That phrase is the honest state of the science, and I want you to hold on to it. We can see these storms on satellite as they build. We cannot reliably forecast which fire will produce one, or when, or how high it will throw its smoke. Nobody issues a watch for a fire thunderstorm the way the Storm Prediction Center issues one for a supercell. That gap is precisely why those aircraft are in the air right now. What we do have is a record of what happens when it goes all the way. On the evening of July 26, 2018, the Carr fire moved into Redding, California, and a rotating column formed under its plume. The National Weather Service office in Sacramento and CAL FIRE surveyed the damage afterward and estimated winds in excess of 143 miles per hour, about 230 kilometers per hour, putting it at EF3 strength on the tornado scale. It pulled steel high-tension transmission towers out of the ground, debarked trees, and scoured bare dirt. 2 men died on that fire that day: Redding Fire Inspector Jeremy Stoke and dozer operator Don Ray Smith. 2 years later, on August 15, 2020, the Loyalton fire east of the Sierra Valley produced a rotating plume that the Weather Service office in Reno watched turn on radar in real time. And at 2:35 in the afternoon, they issued a tornado warning for Lassen County, California. Not for a thunderstorm, for a fire. It is believed to be the first warning of its kind ever issued in this country. So here is what this means for you if you live anywhere fire can reach you. Stop judging your distance by the flames. Judge it by the column and the wind. If you can see a plume leaning over your side of the valley, embers are already traveling that direction. And a fire that has built its own thunderstorm can put burning material on your roof from a ridge you consider safely far away. Get on your county's alert system tonight before anything is moving. In Klamath County, that is the Sheriff's Office evacuation map and their notification list, and every county in the West runs an equivalent. Know 2 ways out of your neighborhood and drive the second one once so it is not a stranger to you in the dark. If you have livestock, mobility limits, or anyone in the house who needs time, treat a level 2 get set as your level 3. Keep a NOAA weather radio where you will actually hear it. And when the column over a nearby fire starts to lean, flatten out, or fall in on itself, expect the wind to do something new, because that is the moment it usually does. I report on official warnings. I do not issue them. Your local National Weather Service office, your county emergency management, and your sheriff decide when you go, and if their instruction and my video ever disagree, follow them and turn me off. Back to Sprague River. Crews there spent last night improving line around Flat Lake and Saddle Mountain, cutting dozer line on both sides of Bliss Road, and prepping structures at Yana Woods and Bly Mountain ahead of whatever the fire does next. They are working under a column that has been building over that country every afternoon for a week. Somewhere above them, on a good day, there is now a spy plane taking its measurements. This one is still moving, and the numbers will change, so I will keep tracking it and post an update as soon as the picture shifts. Subscribe and turn notifications on if you want that when it lands. My thanks to the crews on the Wrights Spring, the Wright, the Sinlahican, and every other incident burning tonight, and to the people of Klamath County who are living out of a shelter or a truck cab right now. Watch the sky over your ridge, not just the ground. I'm Walter.